Autonomous agents should not treat every action the same. Before they act, they need a risk check: impact, uncertainty, and policy. Human approval is the safety control that stops harmful decisions, while still letting low-risk work move quickly. Up to this point, we've built defense in depth, understanding agent risks, limiting tool permissions, and resisting prompt injection and exfiltration. Module 4 adds the next checkpoint: recognizing when autonomy should pause, so a human can approve, deny, or modify high-impact actions. Human approval matters when an agent's action can affect the real world in a meaningful way. Low-risk actions, like reading non-sensitive information, can often run autonomously. Higher-risk actions, such as sending a client email or changing a record, may need review before execution. Some actions, including deleting critical data, should be blocked outright. The goal is not to put a human in front of every click. It is to define the boundary, what the agent can safely do alone, and where human judgment reduces harm, ambiguity, or compliance risks. A practical approval system begins with one question: what could go wrong if the agent does this without a human? Read-only work may look safe, but it can still reveal sensitive data. Reversible changes are easier to tolerate because mistakes can be rolled back. External-facing actions raise the stakes because they affect customers, partners, regulators, or reputation. High-impact actions, such as financial transfers, admin changes, deletion, legal commitments, or sensitive access, need stronger review. The aim is not to approve everything. It is to match approval friction to real risk. Low-risk autonomy starts with a basic distinction. Can the agent only observe, or can it make a change that is easy to undo? Read-only work, like retrieving documentation, checking status, or summarizing non-sensitive information, usually needs less friction. Reversible work, such as creating drafts, labeling tickets, or updating temporary metadata, can also be safe when permissions are narrow. But low risk does not mean invisible. Every action should be logged, so teams can audit, trace, and debug behavior. Approval comes back into the flow when sensitive data, unusual access, or regulated context appears. Risk increases when an agent moves from internal processing to actions that expose information outside the system. Accessing or transforming personal, financial, health, confidential, or proprietary data may be acceptable inside a controlled workflow. Sending an email, posting a message, opening a support case, contacting a vendor, or publishing content creates a much larger blast radius. This is where prompt injection and data exfiltration become especially important. Human approval should not be a vague checkpoint. The reviewer confirms why the action is needed and verifies the exact content that will leave the boundary. Some actions should be treated as risky by default. If money moves or a commitment changes, treat it as financial risk: payments, refunds, discounts, purchases, budgets, and contracts. If authority changes, treat it as administrative risk: permissions, accounts, security settings, or disabled controls. If something can be lost or interrupted, it is destructive risk: deletions, terminations, overwrites, or revoked access. And if the organization is making an official promise or filing, it is legal risk. The safe default is simple: pause, verify authority, and require explicit approval before execution. Approval triggers are where risk governance becomes operational. Instead of simply labeling an action as sensitive, define the observable facts that make it sensitive: the data involved, the action being taken, the dollar amount, confidence level, user role, destination, and current policy status. The agent checks these signals before acting. One severe condition, like exporting regulated data externally, can force approval by itself. Several moderate signals can also combine to require review. Strong triggers are explicit, testable, logged, and understandable, so reviewers can quickly see why the agent stopped. Approval decisions should depend on both the data and the action. Personal data, credentials, financial records, health information, legal documents, customer secrets, and proprietary code are already high risk. That risk grows when an agent combines records, summarizes content, exports files, emails results, or sends context to a third-party tool. Retrieval-augmented agents need extra caution because retrieved passages may carry restrictions the user never explicitly mentioned. A good approval prompt gives the reviewer 3 facts: what data is being used, why the agent needs it, and where the information will go before the action runs. Uncertainty should change the agent's path, not be ignored. Low confidence can come from classification, identity checks, policy interpretation, or doubts about whether the proposed action is correct. Ambiguous requests need clarification before the agent acts, especially when the impact is meaningful. Conflicting instructions, suspicious prompts, and surprising tool results should raise the bar further. The key design choice is separating two responses. Ask the user when intent is unclear, and escalate to an authorized reviewer when risk, evidence, or policy judgment requires independent approval. For high-impact actions, confidence alone is never enough. Approval should not be a yes or no rule based only on the requested action. The same refund, purchase, or provisioning request can carry very different risk depending on size, requester, and context. A $50 refund from a trusted support lead is routine. A $12,000 refund to a new payment method from a contractor account is not. That should trigger stronger review, especially if the timing, location, volume, or destination looks unusual. Effective approval systems combine business thresholds with identity, access, and monitoring signals. The goal is proportional control, low friction for normal work, stronger checks when risk increases. Before an agent takes an action that cannot be easily undone, it should pause and evaluate risk. Deleting data, overwriting records, terminating accounts, submitting contracts, deploying to production, or publishing publicly all change the state of the business. The same pause applies when policy may be breached, such as bypassing access controls, sending restricted data, exceeding spend limits, or operating in unapproved regions. The policy engine should allow safe actions, route exception cases for approval, and automatically block non-overreadable violations. Approval requests must name the rule, the proposed exception, and the business justification. A practical approval rubric turns vague judgment into repeatable governance. For every agent action, evaluate the same dimensions: impact, reversibility, data sensitivity, external exposure, model confidence, user role, and policy constraints. Then map the result to a simple risk level. Low actions can run autonomously, medium or high actions require approval, and prohibited actions are blocked. The key is not to average the risk. If one factor is severe, apply the strictest relevant rule. Finally, treat the rubric as a controlled artifact. Version it, document exceptions, review it regularly, and keep it aligned with security, compliance, and business policy. Approvals only work when they stay meaningful. If every small action needs review, reviewers start rubber stamping, work slows down, and teams look for workarounds. Design approvals as a high-signal filter. Let low-impact actions proceed automatically, and reserve human review for high-impact or unusual cases. Batch similar moderate-risk requests, so reviewers have context instead of constant interruptions. Give each request a clear risk summary: what the agent wants, why it wants it, and what could happen. Then tune the policy using incidents, false positives, reviewer feedback, and business impact. The main takeaway is simple. Safe autonomy depends on knowing when not to be autonomous. Classify each action's risk, then define clear approval triggers around sensitivity, confidence, size, role, exposure, reversibility, and policy. Finally, keep approvals efficient, so safeguards reduce risk without creating fatigue. Next, we'll turn these criteria into practical approval gates.